Sommige navorsing toon dat vroue met voltydse poste steeds net so wat 77% verdien van die salaris wat hulle manlike eweknie verdien. Dit beteken dat mans met voltydse poste 23% meer as vroue verdien. Ons fokus vanoggend op geslagsgelykheid en 'n Koketso Sekhu van die Kommissie vir Geslagsgelykheid is vanoggend hier om haar kennis met ons te deel. Good morning, Koketso, and welcome.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here.
Let's just start with some background regarding the CGE.
All right. So the CGE was born in 1996. The CGE is a constitutional body. So we have a constitutional mandate. So basically the CGE is there to protect and promote the attainment of gender equality. So Section 187 of the Constitution allows us to function in South Africa. So we are there to monitor legislation, we are there to monitor policy, we are there to investigate inequality in the country, and also we are there to do public information and education. And also, lastly, we advise and also report to Parliament. Yeah.
And you also focus on the biggest challenges that women face in terms of equality or inequality for that matter. What are those challenges?
Oh, there are a lot. But then I think we should focus on these ones which are really going against the dignity of women. It is poverty, first of all, sexual and reproductive health and justice, and also unemployment. Also, we can mention the gap, the gender pay gap as well.
Yes.
And if you know that a lot of women, they are in the informal sector, they are underpaid and their work is not valued. Yeah.
You've referred to the gender pay gap. What is your view regarding equal pay and also the recent campaigns that were launched around the world?
All right. So when you look at the gender pay gap, basically it is discrimination against women. It is an economic discrimination. It shows that there's still sexism in the workplace. And then the UN Women have launched what is called the Rob Me campaign. Do you know about it? And also we have a campaign or hashtag Pay Me Too campaign. Basically, these are campaigns that advocate for women. Basically, they are empowering women to tackle and confront the workplace that, you know what, women work as hard as men as well. And then women also, they need to be valued, and we should eradicate gender stereotypes in the workplace. Yeah.
So it's important to launch these kind of campaigns as well.
Very.
How do you feel about perceptions in certain careers that women can't do the jobs men do?
Sure.
You know, these perceptions, basically they are bias, they are prejudice, you know, and I think they're also facilitated by what you call patriarchy. You know, when we look at patriarchy, it's a system that has given the male figure dominance. You know, it's a system that has been constructed to make the other gender, of which is females most often, to feel that they are subservient. But basically, it is perceptions that also go against the equality clause of the Constitution as well. Yeah.
And do you think the world will ever be able to change these kind of perceptions?
You know, it's possible, but of course it's challenging, because remember, we also have chauvinism as well, you know, which is very negative towards the empowerment of women as well. But then it is possible, but it's possible through a universal, you know, declaration, a universal plan, you know, legislation that is there where people can comply. And I think also in starting that legislation or a massive campaign or a lobby, there should be a monitoring body, you know, that is international, that is regional, that is local as well. But then I think it's possible, really.
Do you think these perceptions that almost go against women and challenges that women need to face in a day-to-day basis, do you think it's addressed effectively?
I think we're doing our best, really. And in where I work, the space that I work in, where we disseminate information, where we try to change the mindset of the public, you know, that men and women are equal, you know, even in the workplace as well. So basically, it's all about making sure that the binary of male and female, it's not divided. We should be seen as equal, equal participants of society, equal contributors of society. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you focus more on fighting injustice in terms of prejudice and discrimination against women, especially in the workplace? Or do you think something like enforcement or empowerment, rather, like BEE, but for women, is necessary to establish equality, especially in the workplace for women?
Yes, it is very important. But in the work of the CGE, remember we are a monitoring body. We make sure that institutions such as government, private sector, and other statutories comply to equal, or they comply to what we call conventions. Remember, the CGE also has a significant role where we make sure that institutions, they comply, and also we make sure that we effectively monitor.
Yes.
And if they do not comply, we hold them accountable. Because remember, we report to Parliament,
Yes.
to a certain portfolio committee. So also, what we then do is that we also investigate. We have systematic investigations where we make sure that if we have identified inequality, people should also be held accountable. But not only people, and also even if we have those teeth, but also we make sure that we
I just quickly want to ask you. I mean, you've spoken about chauvinism earlier, but what do you think about feminism?
Oh, with feminism is an advocacy for human rights, right? Advocacy for the rights of women. And then feminism, that it comes in different folds. You have the liberal feminist or the first wave feminist. We have the radical feminist.
Yeah, you have the extremist as well.
We have extremists as well. But then at the end of the day, feminism fights for the equality of women's rights. Yeah.
We also actually have a question on social media. So Anna, as jy dalk vinnig vir ons daar kan terugvoer gee.
Ja, ons wou baie geweet het, wie is jou vroulike rolmodel? En ek sien Chantay Pretorius sê Eunice Kemp is haar rolmodel, sy is inspirasie vir duisende mense. Yvonne sê daar's soveel vroue daar buite wat groot inspirasie is vir vele mense. Uitsondering sal nie vir my moontlik wees nie. Geseënde Vrouedag vir almal, baie dankie. Tine sê behalwe nou vir my vrou, sal hy sê Karen Zoid en Zelda Legrandsie, brownie points vir jou, Tinus. En dan Koketso het ook vroeër vir ons gesê dat haar ma is vir haar rolmodel, en then I asked her, okay, but call someone else as well. Tell me about someone else, and then she said her grandmother. So they played a big role in her life. We must never underestimate the role of family members like mothers and grandmothers.
Koketso, maybe linking to that, if you think about a female figure, who stands out for you?
A female figure.
Apart from your mother and grandmother, maybe a public...
A public figure. A figure that stands out for me is Lebohang Mashile. She's a poet. She's a feminist. She knows her path. She knows that, she has broken the boundaries of being oppressed. She knows what is her worth in society, and she's the future, basically. She's inspiring. She's domineering. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Ons sluit af met vanoggend se gesprek met Koketso Sekhu van die Kommissie vir Geslagsgelykheid. Koketso, what needs to happen to achieve success of gender equality?
You know what? I think we need to speak to how our policies are formulated, but then importantly, the implementation of those policies as well. And then also to support each other, where civil society organizations, government, the private sector, all unite and speak in one voice. Yeah.
And how would you define the women's role in today's society?
Oh, women are tremendous. Women are now progressing. Women have found a voice. Women have now identified what has been oppressing them. And then importantly, women today are educated. Women today are making strides in boardrooms. Women today are decision makers. And then they have gone through the boundaries of really trying to break the cycle of being divided in society. But importantly, women can speak out, and then women can fight against oppression.
So are you optimistic about women in the future?
I am optimistic, really I am, because I am in the commission where that we advocate for human rights, and then remember, when we speak of human rights, we have to go back to chapter 2 of the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights. And then again, I go back to the equality clause that unfair discrimination should not happen. And then you have seen last week that we did a total shutdown of women, where women were protesting, that they have now gained agency. They know now that, for us to progress, we really need to fight the scourge of being oppressed. But then, importantly, we have a vision as women that we want to see a society that is free from all forms of oppression, and we want to eliminate it.
There has been a lot of news reports lately regarding gender violence. I mean, if you take a look at the Manana case, for instance. But how big is the problem of gender violence in our country?
Oh, gender violence is huge. GBV, domestic violence, it's really becoming a national sport in South Africa, especially sexual violence, physical violence. It's really...
It's a sick
scourge.
mindset.
It is. And another thing is that, women every day are sexually assaulted, physically abused by their intimate partner. And also, they are also abused by non-intimate partners. And we need to know that gender-based violence or violence against women is a human rights violation, and it's a crime. Yeah.
And it happens behind the scenes, and that's one of the reasons that 12 million children in South Africa over the world, grow up without their fathers.
Correct.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And a lot of these scenes are unreported as well, so that's also a concern.
We would like to thank you for your insight and for joining us on Women's Day for this discussion. So hopefully we'll talk again in future.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
En dit was dan Koketso Sekhu van die Kommissie vir Geslagsgelykheid.